Hey guys, so it is day 3 of our time off, and today I'm going to teach you how to make homemade bread. We all know that right now in the stores things are a little low, and bread is one of the things that people are having a hard time finding. So I'm going to teach you an easy way to make bread at home. Now this process does take a little bit of time, but only because you have to start it rising the night before. So you'll make your dough the night before and let it rise while you sleep. You want to let it rise about 12 hours. So we're going to go to last night, the night of day 2, and I'm going to show you how to make your dough. Alright, so since this is an overnight rise bread, you need to make it the night before. It is 10:20 on day 2, so I'm making this so that in the morning I can bake it. So we're going to start with 3 cups of flour. Now ideally, if I were to measure this properly, I would scoop it into the measuring cup to make sure that I don't pack it in there on accident, but it's nighttime. It's 10:20 and I want to go to bed, so I'm being lazy. Alright, so next we need a 1/4 teaspoon of yeast. This is active dry yeast. We need 1.5 teaspoons of salt. I have a 1/4 teaspoon out, so I'm just going to use it a whole bunch of times. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 1 teaspoon. 1, 2, that's 1/2 teaspoon. So we have our salt. So in here we have flour, we have yeast, we have salt. Now we just need water. And I'm going to grab a spatula to mix it all up in there. You want to scrape the edges, scrape the bottom as much as you can to get all of the flour in there. This is a pretty sticky dough. It's completely normal, completely fine. It's exactly how it's supposed to be. And this is enough to make 1 loaf of bread. I've multiplied it, but usually when I multiply it, I make it in a couple of separate containers so that I know exactly how much one is. Now this is looking a little bit dry to me, so I'm going to add a little extra water. Again, I was lazy with the flour, so that's probably why it looks dry. So I add a little extra water, and I keep mixing, and now it's seeming a little bit more normal. So I'm going to let this rise overnight. What I like to do is I like to put a rubber band around the container wherever the dough comes up to so that I can see how much it's risen by the morning. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to put this to the side. I cover it with a top, but I don't cover it completely, like I don't seal the top down. And I'm just going to let it sit. Try and keep it in a warm place if you can. I store it over my stove, not that my stove is warm at night, but it doesn't get much of a breeze over there, so it's a safe place for it. And I'll come back in the morning and we'll bake some bread.
Now it's the following day and I'm getting ready to bake my bread. So I'm going to start by preheating the oven to 450 degrees. And when I preheat it, I want to put the Dutch oven inside the oven so that it can get up to temperature as well. I also am going to want to take out this top rack because I don't need it in there and the Dutch oven isn't going to fit if the top rack is in there.
Alright, so the dough has been given 12 hours to rise. It's been given a little more than 12 hours because we've been busy this morning, but you can see that the rubber band shows where it started and it's all the way up here. So it's definitely doubled in size, which is at least what we're looking for. We want it to at least double in size. If it goes more than that, it's not a huge deal, but you want it to double because you want to make sure that that yeast is active. You want to make sure that you're going to have a nice, fluffy, light bread. You can see all of the little air pockets in there that let you know that the yeast is doing its work. Those are little bubbles of carbon dioxide that the yeast has been giving off as it eats. So that's a really good thing to look for. You could also do the float test, which is when you take a little bit of dough and you drop it into some water. If it floats, then it's been given enough time to rise. If it doesn't, then it needs to rise a little longer. But I'm pretty confident, since it's been rising for probably 15 hours now, that it's just fine. I don't need to let it rise any longer. So I'm going to show you the process that we have to take to get this ready to go in the Dutch oven. The Dutch oven is in the oven. The oven is preheated and heating up. So now once it dings in about 50 degrees, I'll be able to put this in. So here's what we're gonna do.
Before I put my dough on my surface, I want to make sure that it's really, really clean. So I started with wiping down the counter with some disinfectant wipes, and then I used a wet rag to clean off any sort of chemical flavor it might have, and then I dried it. After the counter is all clean, I'm going to start getting ready to put some dough on my counter. So I'm putting a ton of flour down, just because this dough is super sticky. You can see as it pours out of there, it comes out really easily. So you want to make sure that there is a lot of flour underneath it, because you're going to need it. So you're going to scrape out whatever's left in the container, and then you're going to sprinkle some flour on top, because after this you're going to have to start patting it down, and you don't want your hands to stick to it. So I'm going to pat it down. I'm going to push most of the air out of the dough. If it sticks to my hand anywhere, I'm just going to make sure that I put flour there. So once I've got it pretty much flat, I'm going to fold the sides in, and then I'm going to fold the front and the back in.
Alright, so now our dough is ready to get into the oven. This bottom part that I folded in is the seam that's going to be the bottom. So when I put it into the Dutch oven in the oven, ooh, the oven's ready. I'm going to flip this over so that this side is on the bottom. If I leave it on top, it's going to break open a lot at that point. So I don't want that to happen too much. It's still going to break open. It's still going to get nice and crackly, but I don't want it to break open too much. Normally this is a two-person job, but Tommy's at work, so I'm going to give it a shot on my own. We'll see. It could be a disaster, could go just fine. We're going to find out.
So the Dutch oven is in the oven with the dough inside and the lid on. Next, I'm going to set it for 30 minutes to cook. So the bread's cooked for 30 minutes with the lid on in the Dutch oven and 10 minutes with the lid off in the Dutch oven, and now it's ready to come out.
Alright, so our bread is done. I've taken it out of the oven. At this point, you can kind of use your own judgment. says to bake it for 10 to 15 minutes. What I did here was 10 minutes. It looks good, but if you were to open the oven and look at it and it still looks really light in color, you could leave it in for another couple of minutes. Basically what you're doing when you take the top off is you're just browning the outside of the bread. The inside's been cooked in that 30 minutes with the lid on. Now it just needs to be browned. So I'm going to remove it from the pan. I like to use tongs for this because there have been many times when I have touched the side of the pan, and it's currently 450 degrees, so you really don't want to touch the pan. I'm going to place it on a cooling rack. So that's our bread. You should smell it in here. It smells fantastic. If you guys decide to make this at home, first off, send me a picture of it because I want to see what you guys make. Did I just say second or did I say first? I don't know. You guys know me. My brain's never functioning. So first, send me a picture. Second, your house is gonna smell amazing. Your parents or guardians are gonna come into the house and they're gonna be like, oh my God, what did you make? And you're gonna show them this beautiful loaf of freshly made bread that was so easy, and you're gonna be so proud of it, and they're gonna be so proud of you. So definitely let me know if you guys make this at home. I'm gonna let this cool for another couple of minutes, and then I'm gonna come back, slice it open so you guys can see the inside. So I let my bread cool for about 10 minutes. You guys will probably wanna let it cool a little bit longer. My hands are pretty used to heat at this point, so I'm probably not gonna burn myself on the loaf of bread. But it's been cooling for 10 minutes. It's no longer steaming. I can touch it. It's fine. So I'm gonna slice it open and show you what it looks like. So I'm gonna take it off of the cooling rack. Set those right behind me. I'm gonna be using a serrated knife because like we talked about in class, a serrated knife is designed for something that will have a hard crust but a soft inside, just like a piece of bread. So the little teeth will help me get through the crust easily, and then I'll super easily get through the center of the bread. So here we go. I'm gonna go right in the middle so that we can really see what it looks like. You can see it steaming a little bit because it's still hot in the middle. But look at that. Tell me that that doesn't just make your mouth water. Alright, so you can make this at home really easily. You saw that we only had a couple of ingredients. You could add ingredients to it. I've never tried making a cinnamon raisin loaf using this recipe, but I don't see why you couldn't. You would just want to knead in some cinnamon and some raisins in there. I've tried making an everything bagel version of it where I put the everything bagel seasoning. Let's see, I think I still have it. Yep. So I got a big shaker of everything bagel seasoning that we put all over the top, and we kind of pressed it into the outside, and we baked it with this on there. That was super awesome, and then we kind of ate the bread with cream cheese on it like it was a bagel. But usually I just stick with the normal loaf. You can make a sourdough loaf of this if you have a starter. I've tried it, but I find this makes for a lighter, fluffier bread with a better crust. The sourdough, obviously you get that really good sourdough flavor, so you kind of have to pick and choose what you want. But it's overall just a fantastic, easy loaf of bread. So like I said, if you guys make it at home, send me pictures. It's super easy. Your parents are going to be wicked impressed, and you're going to be really happy with it too because it is some really delicious fresh bread. So I hope you guys are staying healthy and safe while we have our time off from school, and I'll see you guys next week. Happy Friday. Come here. Come here. Sit down. Sit. Sit. Oh, I'm being silly. Come here. Come here. Come here. Sit down. You won't sit with me. You won't sit with me. Ow! There you go. There you go. Get out of here. Oh my goodness. That's not gonna work.